Hi, I'm back. Um, Today is part 3 of my hidden exposure video, and today I want to talk a little bit about the symptoms that come from mold, toxin exposure, and VOCs. And I'm going to start off with this book right here by Dr. Richie Shoemaker, Mold Warriors. And I don't know if you can read at the top of the book, but it says Fighting America's Hidden Health Threat. And it's a great passage on the back that explains a little about Dr. Richie Shoemaker. And it says, from a small town bordering the Chesapeake Bay in 1997, a family physician discovered the cause and treatment for a new human illness that followed exposure to a dangerous biotoxin-forming, fish-killing creature, Pfiesteria. Now this national award-winning physician, who treats patients from all over the world, shows us the risk for illness caused by biotoxins made by mold that lives in our homes, schools, and work buildings. Co-authored with longtime health activist and writer Patti Smith, and edited by practicing psychiatrist James Schaller, MD, Mold Warriors is the first book to bring cutting-edge evidence, science, and medicine to the controversial world of toxic mold. Mold Warriors has a message. Mold makes us sick. It's just that simple. We have proved it. Have you ever heard of sick building syndrome? Do a group of people in your school or at your work all have cough, fibromyalgia, or trouble concentrating? Did the ceiling leak in your apartment just before you develop chronic fatigue syndrome? Does basement smell musty even when it isn't flooded? You might be ill from exposure to toxin-forming molds growing indoors and not realize it. Mold Warriors is the first book to offer answers and hope for relief of the chronic health symptoms caused by molds growing in our indoor environment. Pain, fatigue, headache, unexplained weight gain, respiratory illness, memory loss, and neurologic illness that looks like multiple sclerosis and other caused by mold toxins. Mold illness victims average 18 health symptoms. Mold Warrior tells you what you need to know about mold illness, how to recognize it, treat it, and defeat it. The arguments posed by employers, insurance companies, and U.S. government officials who still wrongly claim that mold doesn't make anyone seriously ill. I want to thank you for delivering expert testimony on mold toxin at the Capitol hearing and press conference. You were successful showing members the serious health impacts from toxic mold. Again, thank you for your brilliant and cognate testimony in the Congress. And this is a quote from John Conyers, Member of Congress, September 20th, 2004. And I wanted to make sure I read that part because John Conyers is my congressman here in Michigan. With everything I was going through and everyone that I was contacting, from the governor's office to, MIOSHA, NIOSHA, EPA, and nobody could do anything. After I read this book, and I'm like, okay, John Conyers is already familiar with this, stuff that's going on. I contacted him 2-3 times and never responded. Nobody from his office ever responded. And I'm like, okay, again, state cover up. Because I work for the state, nobody wants to touch it. And this is sad. So I'm going to read a little bit from his book, important parts that I highlighted. And this is what happens in the workplace. If at least 25% of patients have the distinctive pattern of sick building syndrome abnormalities, then we do some building testing. That's what you're supposed to do. When one person is ill, we call him a complainer. When two people working in the same area are ill, we call that a conspiracy. And 3, a cohort. Find a couple of buildings to go through the battles with you, the action can get rough. Find a couple of buddies to go through the battle with you, the actions can get rough. And it sure did. I did a survey because I knew it was not just me that was getting sick. And my whole thing was, if the staff are getting sick here, it has to be affecting the patients that are court ordered here, that stay here 24/7. So when I reported this, I reported it not just on behalf of me, on behalf of everybody. And when I reported it to everybody, it wasn't just about me. I reported it on behalf of staff and patients. So I did a survey, like I said, because with the pictures and evidence that I had, I was told by my chief steward that he would do a health and safety grievance. But they got to him. And after months of asking, well, where's the health and safety grievance? I need to show this to my doctor, what's going on, and still trying to, get a diagnosis and find out what's wrong with me. I kept getting a runaround from my union president and the union steward to why this grievance wasn't done or wasn't complete or whatever. Sorry. Come to find out, he never did it. So I did a grievance myself. And it was denied. So I appealed it. And this is my survey. And I'm going to read it to you. And this is a list of all the symptoms that I found. I'm sure it's more than that, but this is the list that I found. So this is the grievance that I did to Michigan Correction Organization, which is my union. And it's a grievance, at all grievance, health and safety. MCO Grievance Committee voted not to send to arbitration based on employer's action to begin repairs to showers. Now, they just told them we're going to get to it soon, and that was good enough for them. But that wasn't good enough for me because I was the one that was seriously ill. I am appealing their decision. South One's repairs took over 3 months, and less than a week and a half after returning to the unit did the repaired second floor shower leak coming through the first floor team room. Severe water damage leads to sick building syndrome, SBS, which produces toxins, which cause several upper and lower respiratory symptoms and many more. I was forced to return to work, and my symptoms plus more have returned. More people have mentioned they are having prolonged symptoms. Did you know that if you become ill due to sick building syndrome, excuse me, it is possible to pass it on through cross-contamination or through your DNA markers, your genes. We could possibly make our loved ones sick like us. If you have as little as 5 of these symptoms, 5 to 7 of these symptoms, it's safe to say that you have been exposed to toxins. These symptoms can become irreversible, leading to poor quality of life, blindness, pregnancy problems, cancers, diseases, and even death. If you have any of these symptoms, put your name on the envelope on the enclosed card, write all numbers that apply to you, and seal it. And I will present this in Lansing at the hearing. Well, I wasn't allowed to go to Lansing to appeal this in person. You can only appeal in person if you were terminated or something like that. So again, that was another red flag that but here are my co-workers. I'm trying to cover their initials, but here are my co-workers' symptoms. You can see a lot of them have more than 5 to 7. I got 59, 60 co-workers and their symptoms on all 3 shifts. Like I said, I worked a lot of overtime, so I made sure I caught people who were willing to take this survey on all 3 shifts. So people can see that this was not just a complainer, a conspiracy or a cohort, that this is serious. Some of these co-workers had as many symptoms as I did or more. So now I'm going to read to you all my symptoms. And as I went over this today, I thought I only had 34 symptoms, but out of these 40-some symptoms that I found, I had 38. So I had number 1, which was headaches, number 2, which was dizziness, number 4, which was acid reflux, number 5, eye irritation, number 6, cough, number 7, dry itchy skin, number 8, arthritis, number 9, fatigue, number 10, difficulty breathing, number 11, light sensitivity, number 12, anxiety, number 13, odor sensitivity, number 14, cognitive difficulty, number 15, hoarseness, which I still have. That's one of the symptoms, one of my less than 5 symptoms, just like I was clearing my throat. When I start to talk, I get, that dry mouth, or I get that hoarseness, feeling. Bizarre dreams was 16. 17 was allergies. 18 was personality changes. With me, I got moody. I got, very irritable, and, a lot of that had to do with how ill I was, and then how stressful my job was too. 19, chest pains. 20, night sweats. 21, palpitations. 22, stuffy runny nose. 23, nosebleeds. 25, sore throat. 26, occupational asthma. Remember I told you the pulmonary doctor told me I had asthma. He said only 70% of my lung was functioning. I didn't have asthma. Because then the next pulmonary doctor I went to see ruled it out with all the tests they did on me. 28, depression. 29, body aches. 30, static electricity. Remember I mentioned that. 31, edema. 32, hair loss. Yes, that's one of my symptoms. I'm still dealing with that. My hair started coming out in 2015. My hair started coming out in patches, and it won't grow back in those patches. So I basically have to shave my head almost bald to make it look right. But I'm not concerned about that. To me, that ain't even a symptom, because my hair or my lack of hair doesn't define me. I'm going to be okay with or without hair. I'm still going to be a queen. If I had to throw a scarf on like I have today, or if I had to throw a wig on or whatever, or if I just go natural, I'm still going to be me. So really, that's not even a symptom for me, but it is a symptom. It is a cause of what I had to deal with. 37, weight gain. 39, tinnitus. 40, digestive issues. 41, thirst. Oh my God, I had that so bad. I used to constantly, like I said, dry mouth. I would chew on ice, just, everything. Sneezing was number 42. 43 was phlegm. 44 was heavy menorrhea. I had to have surgery for that. They thought it was caused by fibroids that I had. And I was told that I needed to have this surgery because I had these chest pains and stuff. So I went to the doctor in 2015, and I went to ER, and they kept me. They did a stress test. The stress test came back fine. And they told me, they were like, well, we noticed that you have fibroids, which run in my family. My mother had fibroids. And so they were like, we believe that, since you haven't went through menopause, this fibroid is like the size of a softball, and it's restricting your airflow, and that's why you're having these chest pains and everything. So, they scheduled a hysterectomy ASAP, which scared me to death, but I went on, and through the grace of God, I made it through. 2 days later, my chest pains came back. So I found out that was another, that was the reason for the, heavy menorrhea. My last symptom was I put under other, which was unexplainable chills. And I left other open because, in case my coworkers, thought maybe one of their symptoms that they have was not listed on here, they could put it under other. Like I had coworkers that put like kidney problems or whatever listed under other. And still, even with this survey of me and 60 coworkers and our symptoms, they still denied it and closed it. They said I didn't send any relevant information, even though I attached with that the information from the repaired unit that was still leaking. So if you repaired it and it's still leaking, it's not fixed. You can't just tell me anything and think I'm going to accept it. I'm not that kind of person. And it was so much stupidness and blatant cover-ups going on, and I wasn't having it, and that's my name. Mama is not having it. I'm not. I was going through too much stuff, and you can't just tell me the sky's orange. I know better, so I even sent them information from a state facility in Tallahassee, Florida. State workers became sick, and they had a lawsuit, but they were under ASME. We're under MCO. They were under ASME, and they did a class action lawsuit from sick building syndrome. Not only did they have water damage, they had bat guana up in their rafters and stuff in this old building. And see, my facility, they don't want to accept anything because this facility is so new. But what they fail to realize is the facility may be new, but it had poor maintenance. This building was neglected, and that's why it's a death trap now. And, still with the information I sent them, my union that I paid union dues for 17 years basically said denied and closed. Like, leave us alone. We ain't doing nothing. They told me I didn't send any new information. What? Really? I just showed you that other staff are sick. It's not just me. But because I was the only one complaining or pressing the issue on the level that I was, they still made it seem like I was just a disgruntled employee. And everybody sat back and did nothing. Oh, when I first mentioned that it was mold there and that, NIOSH had, sent this response and recommendation letter. Oh, really? They found mold there? Do you have that report from NIOSH? Send it to me. I sent it to him. Nothing. So y'all got scared. They shut you down. They shut my union down. So everybody working together against me. But enough of that. I'm going to read some more from this book. Okay, let's start it there. Okay. On page 46. I wasn't surprised to find the same symptoms I saw in workers from countless other sick buildings presented by the employees in the courthouse. Everybody had many symptoms. They were wide-ranging and included fatigue, weakness, aches, muscle cramps, unusual stabbing pains, sensitivity to bright lights, tearing, blurred vision, headache, sinus congestion, coughing, shortness of breath, abdominal cramping, rashes, skin sensitivity, memory impairment, confusion, difficulty in concentration, trouble finding words to conversate, funny metallic taste, numbness, tingling, spinning sensations, and mood changes. That's a mouthful. All were found as a distinctive grouping. This wasn't depression or mass hysteria. This was a classic presentation of chronic biotoxin associated illness. Not all patients had all of these symptoms, and the symptoms changed from day to day. None of the affected employees had no days without symptoms. And I read that to say that even though I had 38 symptoms, I didn't have 38 symptoms every day. I had those symptoms on certain days. Some days I had multiple symptoms, but not the whole 38 every day. We now have multiple requests to do prevalence studies in local buildings where the employees think the building makes them sick. Now remember, this book, and he's fighting to get these laws and these doctors informed. This was in 2004. This is 2018. And we still haven't gained that much ground. Okay, let me start over. We now have multiple requests to do prevalence studies in local buildings where the employees think the building makes them sick. As you might expect, those responsible for maintaining a safe workplace in several of these buildings aren't too happy with the prospect of health screening of their premises. And that's another thing I didn't understand. Okay, when I first went to MIOSHA, MIOSHA is on the state level, so you contact them first. They don't test for mold, but they didn't tell me this until after they contacted the facility, to see what was going on and got their say-so. Then they responded back, well, we don't test for mold because we don't have nothing to compare it to, and so we don't see a need to come in. So the next thing I did, I contacted NIOSH, which is on the national level. Now anytime you contact NIOSH, if you work for a company that has more than 30 employees, it has to be 3 people on the complaint. So it was me and 2 of my coworkers. So we all sick. We all got symptoms. So that's 3 people right there. Okay. So NIOSH gets the air sample that they did and interprets it and was like, hold up, mold was found. Mold was detected. And, you need to do this immediate remediation, and, you need to move staff that's affected. And they also said in the recommendation letter that the 5-minute air sampling that you just did, even though it detected mold, it doesn't capture the full range of exposure to the facility or its occupants. You need to have a professional company come in and do this the right way. This was in 2015. They never did it. Again, in 2017, when I contacted them, after they called themselves repairing the facility, but they repaired the facility with the same contractors that had repaired our parking lot and effed up the parking lot and had to redo the parking lot. So that would let you know that something is going on. It's either friends or family working together, getting these contracts, because these are professional remediation company doing work like this. So they came in, and like I just read to you, they repaired the showers on South 1, which was the first unit they repaired. They repaired the showers, moved the staff back. It started leaking again. Moved the staff and patients back. It started leaking again. They had to move them back. Re-repaired. They repaired their unit 3 times. And it's still leaking. Now tell me what kind of professional contractors do work like this. And why is the state allowing this to happen? Because it's all a cover-up. This facility, even though they repaired all the units, they all start leaking again. Then it got so bad that, leaks are just popping up everywhere. Even though I'm gone, I'm still getting reports. Plus, they had a pipeline that burst to the HVAC air conditioning unit. Oh my God. Really? That's the ventilation system. Y'all don't see. Now you got more damage. More circulated damage. All this is recycled air. And these people just continue to work. The state ain't doing nothing, ain't forcing them to do nothing. Staff dropping dead, patients dropping dead. They don't care. They gonna just keep trying to cover it up. It's sad, but I'm not having it. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to keep trying to get this information out to expose them, because this is not right. Everybody's scared to go up against the state. I'm not. Y'all took too much from me. I gave 110% to my job. That was my career job. I planned on retiring from that job. And now I can't work. I might look fine on the inside. On the outside. But I'm damaged on the inside. But I'm going to be okay. I'm going to continue. But I'm not going to let this go. Because this isn't right. Nobody should have to. I should not have had to walk away from my job. From my health. Everyone deserves a health and safety. A health and safe work environment. And as far as the patients, the court is ordering these patients there to be exposed. And if this ever comes out, everybody should be held responsible. Because this is just like the Flint water crisis. Y'all sit back and y'all do nothing because it's not affecting y'all. All those people didn't have to die from Legionnaire's disease. All of those kids didn't have to get sick from that water. I'm sure people was calling in like, Hold up, water department, my water is brown, something is wrong. I'm not drinking this, I'm not bathing in this. Before it became public, I'm sure people was complaining about this, but the state will sit back and do nothing and allow this to continue. And this is shameful. This is corrupt. And people need to wake up and stand up. Because if you don't fight for yourself, why you expect somebody else to do it? I tell people, grow a pair. Everybody wants to tell me, oh, you need to be careful. Watch what you say. You gonna get cussed out. Leave me alone. I'm grown. I know what I'm doing. You take your scary behind and sit over there and be quiet and let me do me. Because this is a risk I'm willing to take for me and for everybody else who's being exposed. You have to excuse me because I get passionate when I start talking about this. Okay. Office buildings are also subject to mold infestation, and the people who become sick from the exposure are often treated in the same callous manner. Employees at a social service building in nearby Accomack County, Virginia, were upset when they discovered that their common and debilitating illness were deemed either psychosomatic or hypochondrial. That's what the first thing they want to say. When you tell people you got all these symptoms, oh, she crazy. It's all of her mad. Well, why you sick and I'm not sick? Everybody is different. Everybody's gene markers are different. Everybody's immune system is different. Well, people think, and I don't know if I mentioned this in my other video, that they don't believe in hidden exposure. If they can't see it or touch it, it's not true. You're lying. You're making it up. You're crazy. And that's how we're treated. Us moldies, as we're called. One chronicle ill patient whose condition improved when out of the office buildings can be considered coincidental, or perhaps if even faking the illness to glean sympathy or slack time from an employee. At first, I would get better when I was away from that place. And when I go back to work, I would get sick again. My symptoms would reappear. And that led to the road to depression. Because like I said, my job was stressful enough. And then with everything I had going on, it just made it almost unbearable. I do not know how I made it through for that long. It was nothing but God. But a dozen patients with the same symptoms, genetic susceptibilities, and improvement with treatment are most likely explained by the presence of mold in the building. When those patients also have photos of black mold growing in the bathrooms, like I did, basements or ceiling tiles of that building, like I did, there's only one viable conclusion. These employees are being poisoned by their workplace. Even more disheartening was the realization that these patients, whose jobs were to help members of the community, were being allowed to suffer by the leaders of the same community. Amen. When one employee became enraged enough about the patronizing attitudes of her supervisor, to consider legal action, she was told, go ahead and hire a lawyer, spend lots of money, but you can't sue the government. And in a way, it's very hard to sue the government. That's why so many lawyers turn me down. But I had lawyers tell me, if you didn't work for the state, we would jump to take your case. We would be knocking your door down. And that's sad. Because basically, they saying all I can do is just quit. Just walk away and be quiet. But that's not happening. A simple example of susceptibility comes from observing people who work in a moldy, sick building, one with amplified growth of toxin-producing fungi due to water damage. With exposure, non-susceptible patients may feel ill after several days inside the building, but when they leave for the weekend or go away on vacation, self-healing occurs. Because the toxin isn't recognized as something foreign as an antigen should be, it's allowed to persist in the body. And these are people, this party's talking about people who already have like weakened immune systems or, allergies or something like that, which I fed that, marker. It said because these toxins have a unique structure, we call them ionophores. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. ionophores in chemistry class that prevent them from being metabolized or excreted. These patients stay ill even following removal from exposure. So, yeah, I fit that classification. But with me, with my detox and everything, like I said, to go from 38 symptoms down to less than 5, I'll take it. But this hidden exposure is serious, and I just wanted to do this video. I made it longer than I thought I would, but like I said, I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about my life, and this needs to be shared. No one should be treated like this. No one should have to be sick. With all these hospitals and doctors out there, more doctors need to be trained on this protocol, because I know I showed this book after I read it. I showed this book, and this was in the beginning of my still around the beginning of my illness, when I was just trying to find a diagnosis or whatever. And I showed this to the first pulmonary doctor that I saw, and he basically laughed at me, even though a doctor wrote this book. Oh, anybody can write a book. Anybody can put anything on online. And he laughed. And I asked him, well, can you do a blood test? A blood test for what? Blood tests are too expensive. It's too many things to test you for. It tells you, this doctor tells other doctors in this book what tests to perform on you, what labs to send it to, everything. But these doctors laugh at you. But he wanted to treat me for asthma. He told me I had lost 70% of my lung function. He wanted to treat me for asthma, put me on inhalers and steroids and prednisone and all this stuff, which was actually hurting me more. Glad I didn't take it for too long. And when I went to the next pulmonary doctor, He did all these tests and he ruled it out. He was like, you don't have asthma. I don't know what you have, but you don't have asthma. And, you know, he didn't keep milking my insurance company or taking my money. He basically said, you know, I'm going to refer you to an ear, nose, and throat doctor and see what they say, because there's nothing I can do for you. He was honest. You know, and I appreciate that. But the state is not going to get away with this. And they shouldn't. You know, but more people got to wake up and more people got to speak up. Because when I first became sure of what was going on, I reported this because I'm trying to prevent another Flint water crisis. But it didn't do any good, because now people are dying and they still don't care. They still trying to cover this up. So I'm still going to keep doing whatever I can and reaching as many people as I can. You know, one day this information might reach the right person, or one day this information might help the right person. You know, I've touched, you know, people's lives, and I've wakened a few people up. And I'm glad for that, because I know that what I'm going through will not be in vain. And I will continue to educate myself and share my knowledge with others so they won't have to suffer like I did. It's too much medical evidence out here, and like I said, doctors and hospitals, for somebody to be as sick as I was for over 2 years. That's ridiculous. You know, and seeing all these different doctors. It's not like I wasn't trying, you know, or my primary care doctor wasn't trying. It's sad. And this needs to stop. And I'm going to continue to preach, because this is what God wants me to do. I'm not going to just sit back and say nothing. So, I will see you on the next video. Mwah. Smooches.